human. We're all here because we all understand and appreciate vulnerability and its power to connect us through our stories. With all of the experiences that we've gone through and the feelings that we felt in just our one short lifetime, it's very beautiful and very comforting to think of all the millions and billions of people who have experienced the same experiences and felt the same feelings as we have, even and especially the ones that we think we're alone in. It's the idea that 5 years ago, Irvine Talks was founded upon. But what I've learned throughout my time at Irvine Talks is that understanding and preaching the power of vulnerability is one thing, and actually taking the step to open up yourself is another very different thing, because vulnerability is hard. It can be inconvenient, and it's also really, really scary. Around when I was 13, a close friend of mine was struggling with some severe mental health issues. It's something that I think I would have handled a lot better now in hindsight, but through the lens of a melodramatic 7th grader with a low EQ, it was a lot to deal with emotionally, to say the least. I remember being so worried for her, but also not knowing who to turn to because no adults, including her parents or our teacher, knew that she was harming herself. She made us promise not to tell a soul, and out of what I felt at the time was loyalty to my friend, I didn't. Along with the stress I was feeling worrying for my friend, I was also dealing with one of my own inner demons that came in the form of body image insecurities. A softball coach who was a little too hard on me and made a few too many comments about my figure sent me down a rabbit hole of new habits of dieting and restriction and what would take me years to realize was an eating disorder. I just remember feeling so small in a world that I felt was moving too fast around me and finally feeling as if this was something that I could control. And I didn't want to let go of that feeling, so it was one that I chose to keep all to myself. My parents used to be the people that I'd go to for everything, but they were going through a divorce at the time. I tried to convince myself that the separation didn't affect me, and for a long, long time, I was successful. But in shoving those emotions down in what I thought was a noble act, saving my parents from one more thing to worry about as the older sister, I actually just gained more practice taking those pieces of me, the Delaney that was worried for her friends, the Delaney that hated the way that she looked, and the Delaney that was grieving her family, taking those pieces and hiding them deep down, far, far away from anyone else to see. When I think about what finally got me to take the chance on being vulnerable, I can honestly, with complete certainty, point to Irvine Talks, because there's something just so intrinsically human and uniquely beautiful about an event centered around the idea of sharing stories. Because to share your story with someone is to give that person a piece of you, and for the first time, I realized that piece isn't a burden. It's something beautiful that opens the door to understanding and connection over our shared experiences and feelings, because they're more than we think. I have since learned that a lot of people I know have gone through a similar experience I did with my friend. A lot of my friends have also dealt with body image insecurities and eating problems, and surprise, a lot of people have divorced parents. And I think that I knew this, but it wasn't until I started talking about the emotions that I was feeling at the time and the thoughts that I thought were too deep and too scary for anyone else to understand that I realized that it wasn't just those experiences that we shared, it was also the feelings of guilt, of fear, of helplessness that we also had in common. These are the conversations that heal us and help us grow. My journey to understanding the parts of myself that I used to keep hidden, accepting my feelings for what they are, and allowing myself to share those feelings with others has definitely been a hard one because, yes, vulnerability is hard. It can be inconvenient, and it's also really, really scary, but vulnerability is always worth it. And it's never too late to start to practice it with the people around you, no matter how long or how well you kept your story safely hidden. It's definitely not a linear process. I wish that I could be up here and say that after 2 years in Irvine Talks board, working with performers and watching them dig deeper and deeper into their own stories, that I'm finally ready to pour my heart out on this stage. But I'm not. I'm still scared of how heavy the weight of what I'm carrying is, but here I stand in front of you anyways, finally knowing that everything that I'm choosing to share with you tonight, everything that I've chosen to share these last few months, and everything that I will choose to share as I continue along my journey with vulnerability does not make me weak and does not make me a burden, it just makes me human. And if we've learned anything these last 5 years, it's that to be human is to see the world from new perspectives. It's to learn to live and grow despite the movement, to take the time for reflection, and to learn to grow comfortable showing and sharing your pieces of you. The story of me learning to be comfortable with my own story is still being written, but it started with Irvine Talks. And for many of you, we hope that it starts today. And so, the beautiful performers about to take the stage are here to share parts of their stories with you. These stories don't define them, and many, like mine, are still being written, but they are the pieces of us. So be kind with them. Keep them close to your hearts. Find parts of your own stories in them, because it's a wonderful thing to connect. This is Irvine Talks. These are the pieces of us. This is Pieces of Me.